Hey guys, Ningen here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and today we are doing a team building guide for the INT Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta EZA that is about to drop on Global. I'm recording this video after work, and on the wiki it says it's about 12 hours, so I'm going to obviously render and upload this video as soon as possible, so depending how long YouTube takes to do that. If you're watching this as soon as it goes up, it'll probably be somewhere between like 9 and 10 hours from when it is going to drop. So obviously you guys know I do mostly cover Global, but we do cover some JP news, and somebody did ask me in the comment section of a recent video to do one of my team building guides for this, because I do usually do them for all the EZAs on Global. So it's a standard 30 stage EZA. The weakness is the Bond of Master and Disciple category. Basically the important thing to always check on the EZAs is the damage reduction. So once you get to stage 20, 80% damage reduction for AGL, Tech and STR units. So basically you want to primarily build your team of INT and physical units pretty much only. You can bring tanks of these typings, I guess, but they're not going to do any damage. So it's probably best to stick to INT and physical if you can. And then of course standard 30 stage EZA, so you get a bunch of orbs, 11 Kais, 30 stones, all the medals, and then of course there are missions. So as long as you do it with a Bond of Master and Disciple team, except you literally only need one character from the category, and then by the time you've completed it you will get these 4 as well, so 34 stones. So not bad. He's very, very good. Obviously I did a quick breakdown of what he does, and the showcases for him are out now from people with the Trident and stuff. He is very, very good. So let's have a look at the Bond of Master and Disciple category. So obviously this is the category led by Future Gohan. Has he been back on a banner on JP? I feel like he hasn't. I could be incorrect. And then of course JP doesn't have this awakening for the physical Goku, so you can't use him. So if you don't have him, you have the Trunks or the Whis from the new Beerus banner. If you summoned on the Beerus banner and did pull both these units, you're going to have a really good time in this EZA, because the physical Beerus is in this category, so he's going to be one of the best units. So hopefully you have one of these two. Otherwise you can obviously do some shenanigans in terms of the other categories. But let's have a look at the top picks for this team. So obviously we have the Future Gohan. We don't really need to say a huge amount about him. He's really good at tanking. He can do some decent damage. When he's untransformed, he gives allies ki and attack and defense, so he's like a decent support unit. He does reduce damage, but only when your HP is under a certain amount. So in an EZA, in the earlier stages, you're likely to have beaten it before this ever comes into play anyway. But it could be useful at the higher stages. Once you hit sort of like the 3rd or 4th turn, if you haven't won yet, you could be at this sort of HP. Now obviously if you do include a Trunks on the team, you can transform on the 4th turn and become the Super Saiyan Future Gohan, who infinitely raises attack. He always has the damage reduction, and then rather than being a support unit, he gets a buff with the Bond of Master and Disciple allies on the rotation. This won't come into play because obviously you're not fighting an android enemy. But yeah, if you make it to the 4th turn and the enemy's still alive, then he'll probably be a pretty good closer for that. So he's obviously the ideal leader. Then we have this Trunks. Obviously not ideal, because as we saw at the start, he is one of the types that's going to get massive damage reduction. And of course he has type disadvantage. So he does greatly raise attack and defense for 1 turn. So if you have him and you're using a Future Gohan friend, this will probably give him enough defense that normal attacks aren't going to do too much damage to him. Especially because if you do bring that friend or use the physical Future Gohan, he does get more attack and defense. So his defense could be pretty good. Obviously he's not going to get any of the Cell or Androids bonuses either. So realistically I would only recommend using him if you don't have the Future Gohan. If you have the Future Gohan, I wouldn't even bring this guy on the team. So he's definitely a sub choice. And then of course we have the new STR Whis, who has the same leader skill, 120%. Lowering attack and defense and sealing you obviously can't do in EZAs past the first couple of stages, but he has a built-in 70% chance to dodge, and he gets 50% defense every time he dodges. So even if you do have the future Gohan, you just bring this guy on the team if you have him, because he's incredibly good. And then of course he gives allies 50% extra attack and recovers 10% HP at the end of the turn when you have a Beerus on the same turn. So again, if you do have the physical Beerus, the rotation of these two together will actually be completely insane. It will destroy this EZA if you have that rotation. So he makes a good leader, but unlike the Tech Trunks, he's actually worth putting on the team even if you don't use him as the leader. So he's very, very good. So then I wanted to highlight a couple of the LRs. So obviously we have the physical LR Trunks. He's kind of outdated now, but in this EZA he will obviously do fairly well. He doesn't give himself any sort of defense, but he has high LR stats. He raises defense, of course, when supering. And so if you are running him under like double future Gohan leads, he is going to have very, very high defense. And of course he has this attack boost and a high chance to crit. So he's going to be able to put out a lot of damage, especially if you have him on rotation with units like the future Gohan or one of the Trunkses that will show. You probably can guess who it is. He'll be able to put out tons of damage as well. So he's very, very good. Then we have the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. So this might seem like an odd choice. There's not a lot of units where he's, events where he's super good nowadays. But in this, his defense won't be terrible. He probably will get hit the hardest of anyone on the team if you do bring him. But because INT is one of the types that doesn't get damage reduction, if you pick up a ton of orbs and get his 24 key super, he will do pretty decent damage. So there is that sort of strategy. I would say he's more of a last resort choice, kind of like a wild card, because he could potentially put out tons of damage against this Vegeta, but he will not defend well at all. But he's definitely worth contemplating. I know he's a summonable LR that more people are likely to have because he's been out for so long. And obviously he was featured on that banner when his super attack was redone when the androids came out. So he could be a viable option. Then we have the INT Kid Gohan, the support unit. Obviously he got his awakening recently on Global, but a while ago on JP. He will buff any other super INT types, so you probably want to use him as a floater, and then of course he'll give a huge buff to the INT future Gohan leads, and of course the LR Gohan if you do decide to bring him. Like, those two together would be pretty insane, because this guy changing orbs is going to make it super easy for you to get 24 key super with LR Gohan. And then of course the more orbs you pick up, he's going to do some decent damage and be able to defend really, really well as well. So I would say he's a top choice for the team. Unless, like, if you don't have future Gohan and you don't bring any INT types, he's still useful. So I would say he's probably a must-have on the team if you do have him. Even if you are just floating him in the third spot, he'll be very, very useful. Then we have the Kid Goku. So obviously he's been on a few banners now for JP. He's very good. His links might let him down a little bit on this team, because obviously, like, he doesn't really have any key links that anyone else on this team is going to have. Like, no one else has the Incredible Adventure. But obviously he does give himself key as the turns go on. So in the first turn, under a double 3 key leader, he's going to have 7 key. So you do need to pick up 5 orbs, but then after that it gets 1 less every turn, so that'll be okay. And then of course he does have his active skill, so if you take a big hit in like the first or second turn, you can immediately use his active skill, and then he also gets guaranteed crits on his attacks for that turn as well. So he'll be able to do a lot of damage, especially if you have dupes in him. Thanks to the cooler banner, mine is now Rainbow, so I would definitely be using this guy on my team when this EZA comes to Global. He'll be very, very good. Plus, of course, active skill that are attack is just free damage, so you could even end up just finishing off Vegeta with it. So that's very good. Then we have the Vegeta himself. So it's not common that the unit getting EZA'd is also one of the units that's super effective against their own EZA, but he will be, because he's in the category, he's INT, so he doesn't get the damage debuff. Now obviously his passive pre-EZA is not great, so he's not like the best unit on your team by any means. He doesn't give himself any defense, so he will get hit quite hard. But obviously as you start to do the stages and get his medals, you can start awakening him like stage by stage, and he will get better and better as you go through the event. Obviously, by the time he's fully Extreme Z Awakened, you'll have finished the event. But if you do like to go higher than stage 30 to get some Zenny, or just to see how far you can push it, he'll be really good, especially if you are running like Beerus and Whis, because he's going to give them a ton of extra defense as well. And then, of course, once EZA'd, he's going to tank really well after he super attacks. So, interesting option, but obviously if you're doing the EZA not just for the stones and like the content, but because you have him and you want to EZA him, he can actually work well on the team. So, then of course the man himself that we've spoken about already, the new Beerus, potentially the best new TUR in the game, is on this category. Is the right typing, not just for the EZA itself, but the fact that he has type advantage. He's going to do tons of damage. You're fighting against the Realm of God's enemy, so he changes orbs, is super effective, which, I mean, he is anyway, I guess. And then, of course, he has his active skill, which you can use from the 4th turn if the enemy is still alive and you've lost a bit of health. I imagine if you get to the 4th turn and you can use his active skill, you will then finish the fight right there and then. So he's obviously going to be insanely good if you did pull him. And like I said previously, the rotation of him and Whis will be absolutely ridiculous. And then, of course, if you have a support in like the 3rd slot, he will just, like, in the early stages, this guy will literally one-shot the stages. He's very, very good. So if you did pull him, this EZA is going to be very easy for you. Then we have the Gawasu and Zamasu. I included them as a support unit because obviously they are in the category, so they get the bonus. They give everyone else key and a bunch of defense. They have a built-in chance to dodge, so they can potentially take 0 damage. This last part of their passive won't activate, but they're not going to do a huge amount of damage and they can't seal anyway. So even if you never super with them, they'll just be providing defense and key and then potentially taking 0 damage. So they're very useful as a support. Then, of course, we have the Transforming Vegeta. Has type advantage, is obviously a very strong unit. As you go through the stages, he will transform and become more powerful. You'll probably never get far enough to even see him go God, I would imagine, unless you get like up past stage 30 by quite a significant amount. But if you somehow manage to get to him transforming into blue and you get the full field of physical orbs, he will probably one-shot, like, especially because it's going to be like turn 5 by then. So that will be GG for the event. So he will be very, very good as well. And then obviously depending on other Saiyans that you bring, he's going to link really well. And then the final unit of note is, of course, as I mentioned, the EZA Trunks. The rotation of him and the physical LR Trunks is really, really good. Or you can just run him as a support unit. Obviously, you do need to bring another Vegeta family category ally to do that. But then that only activates the part of his passive that benefits him. So if you just want to bring him as a support unit, he's still going to give 2 key and 30% attack and defense. He just won't get the attack and defense 70% if you don't have another Vegeta family ally. But I would definitely recommend the physical transforming Vegeta if you have him. And then, of course, you get access to this guy's full passive. Or, of course, the LR Trunks, like we said. And then that will activate his passive as well. So that rotation. I mean, I could imagine a sort of dream team would be having the rotations of this guy and the LR Trunks or the physical transforming Vegeta, and then Beerus and Whis as the other rotation, and you will absolutely steamroll this event. So if we go back to the list, obviously, like, Gohan, he's going to have damage reduction, but he'll tank really, really well. Piccolo, no. LR, Beerus and Whis, I guess, the fact that because their damage will be so nerfed, they're not going to be that great. Like, they'll defend reasonably well and they can heal, but they're not going to be that great. I guess the physical LR Trunks, Gohan from the original stages of Super Battle Road, he is on the category and he does have type advantage, but he is a very bad unit. So he would probably be like a last resort, I guess. And then, of course, if you need some defensive options, because you don't, obviously they're going to be affected by the damage reduction, units like Super Saiyan 3 Trunks will be pretty good. Obviously JP doesn't have this Tech Blue Vegeta. No one else here really stands out. INT Whis could be okay because he's a support unit, especially if you are bringing a Beerus just for the links. God Vegeta will obviously defend very well. But all these units, if they're not INT or physical, they're basically going to deal no damage. So That's the big problem. And then I guess Dokkan Fest Piccolo, actually. I didn't talk about him. I probably should have included him. I always forget about him because I didn't pull from him on Global. But he's on the category. He allows you to see where the super attacks are going to be, which is really useful. He infinitely stacks his defense. You're never going to get him to transform, though, because you're not going to have another Namekian on the category. But he is definitely a top-tier pick as well. The EZA Piccolo is pretty good as well for JP. Obviously, his EZA is about to come out on Global. He gives everyone a ton of defense. And then if you're running him on this full team, he's going to get a pretty decent attack boost as well. So I think that pretty much sums it up. I don't think there's any like SSRs, because obviously we're only really looking at the TURs at the moment. No one here like particularly stands out. This Gohan's okay, but he really needs his awakening from the World Tournament. He's an alright defensive unit. But yeah, the physical Whis, I guess, as well, the summonable one, he's okay, but he's kind of a last resort, I would imagine. So yeah, the only other unit we didn't talk about really in any detail is the physical Super Saiyan Future Gohan, because obviously he has a different name, so you can bring him on the team. He would be very good as well. He's a decent tank. He's not going to deal crazy damage, but he'll be very good defensively, so he will be a good choice as well. So there you go. Those are the units that I think will best serve you in this event. If you can make a team out of the units that we've talked about, then you should have no problems clearing the event whatsoever. So let me know how that goes for you. Obviously, I don't really play JP, so I won't be doing the event on stream. And then I will probably do an updated version of this once this EZA comes to Global. Because obviously, when it does eventually come for us, we have the options of like the physical Super Saiyan Blue Goku, and then it kind of depends what else comes out. Like obviously Saiyan Day could be a big thing because that's going to be on both versions at the same time. So that comes out in just over a week. So potentially something could come out then that will be good. But it all depends whether it is in the right category. So let me know what you guys think down below. Are you ready for this, JP players? Hopefully this guide is somewhat helpful. And yeah, there you go. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. You can follow me on Twitch or join my Discord. The link is in the description below. And I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.